वशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति। ॐ आप्यायन्तु महाप्राणी महाप्राणश्चक्षुश्रोत्रमधुबलेन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्मोपनिषदम् अहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्याम्। ब्रह्म निराकरोत् अनिराकरणमस्वनिराकरणं मे वस्तु। तदात्मनि निरतेय उपनिषत्सु धर्मास्ते मयि सन्तु ते मयि सन्तु। शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ वां मे मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् आविराविर्भवेत् वेदस्य महानि अहोरात्रान् सन्ददामि तं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि धर्मावतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारमवतु वक्तारम्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ तन्नो अपिवादयमनः। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयामदेवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैः स्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितैर्यदायुः। स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति न पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो वैष्णवेः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ यो ब्रह्माणं विदधाति पूर्वं यो वै वेदांश्च प्रणिनोति तस्मै ब्रह्मदेवात्मबुद्धिप्रकाशम् मोक्षुर्वै शरणमहं प्रपद्ये। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ नमो ब्रह्मादिभ्यो ब्रह्मविद्या सम्प्रदायकर्तृभ्यो वंशऋषिभ्यो महद्भ्यो नमो गुरुभ्यः। सर्वोपप्लवरहितः प्रज्ञानघनः प्रत्यगर्भो ब्रह्मैवाहमस्मि ब्रह्मैवाहमस्मि। ॐ नारायणं परमं वसिष्ठं शक्तिं जगत्पुत्रपराशरं च व्यासं सुवर्णोदयं महान्तं गोविन्दयोगीन्द्रमतास्य शिष्यं श्रीशङ्कराचार्य मतास्य पादं च दस्तामगतं च शिष्यं गुरुलोकतं वारिकालं
Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Mada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Apyayantu Mamangani वाक्प्राणश्चक्षुश्रोत्रमथो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्म उपनिषदम् माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्याम् मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत् अनिराकरणमस्त्वनिराकरणं मे अस्तु तदात्मनि निरते यौपनिषत्सु धर्मास्ते मयि सन्तु ते मयि सन्तु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादम् शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम् शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ओमित्येतदक्षरमुद्गीतमुपासीत ओमिति ह्युद्गायते तस्योपव्याख्यानम् यो वै भूमा तत्सुखम् नाल्पे सुखमस्ति भूमैव सुखम् भूमा त्वेव जिज्ञासितव्य इति भूमानं भगवो विजिज्ञासे इति यत्र नान्यत् पश्यति नान्यत् शृणोति नान्यद् विजानाति स भूमा अथ यत्र अन्यत् पश्यति अन्यत् शृणोति अन्यद् विजानाति तदल्पम् यो वै भूमा तदमृतम् अथेदल्पम् तन्मर्त्यम् स भगवः कस्मिन् प्रतिष्ठित इति स्वे महिम्ने यदि वा न महिम्नेति यो वै भूमा तत्सुखम्. So that is bhuma is indeed sukham. Na alpe sukhamasti. That is bhuma, the infinite, that is the sukham. Na alpe sukhamasti. There cannot be happiness in anything that is alpam or finite. Bhuma eva sukham, therefore, Bhuma alone is happiness. Bhuma tveva vijignasadavyaide. Therefore, one should seek to know Bhuma. Bhumanam bhavo vijignasaide. Oh, Venerable Sir, I seek to know Bhuma. Kim lakshanaso Bhuma iti. What's the lakshana? Or what's the inherent characteristic of Bhuma? Yatra nanyat pashyati, nanyat shrunoti, nanyat vijanati, sabhuma. Sabhuma, that is Bhuma. Yatra, where nanyat pashyati, one does not see anything as separate from oneself. Yatra means yasmin bhumni. Yat means in which. Bhuma in which. Bhumni tattve. So Bhuma, which is tattvam, which is the essential reality, the absolute reality. In that Bhuma, nanyat drashtavyam anyena karena anyo drashta drashyad vibhakta pashyati. With drashtavyam, what is to be seen that is separate. Anyena karena, with the karana was the means, which is also different from oneself. Anyo drashta, the drashta also is separate from the other two. Drishyad vibhakta, the drashta, or the seer who is separated from or different from the drishya. Meaning with drishya and drashta and karanam. So karta, karma and karanam, that in which all these three are different, that does not exist. Seeing of that nature which involves this triad of the drashta, drishya and karanam, that is not there, that is Bhuma. Tatha nanyat shronati. Similarly, one does not hear something separate from oneself as separated from what is heard through a means of knowledge for hearing, which is again separate. Nam rupayo eva antarbhavat vishaya bhedasya. Vishaya bhedasya. The entire host of all Vishayas of the objects. Nam rupayo eva antarbhavat. All the objects, all that is created is included in Nama and Rupa. Therefore, tad grahakayoho eva iha darshana sravanayoho grahanam. What's the reason why the Shruti specifically mentions darshanam and shranam? Nanyat pashyati, nanyat shrunoti. The nanyat jagrati, etc. also could have been said. Because it's enough to say that one does not see and one does not hear, because the names and forms are all included in that. Anyesham cha upalakshanarthatvena. Even though two actions or two means of knowledge are mentioned here specifically, it is in fact to include all the actions of sense organs, and all sense organs. Mananam chatra uktam drashtavyam. And similarly, the activity of the mind. Nanyat vijanati. Upanishad says one does not see again something separate from oneself. One does not know something separate from oneself through a means which is again different. That kind of vijnana is not there. It's not that seeing is not there. It's not that vijnana is not there. But the vijnana or the knowledge with which we are accustomed to, which involves the duality or differences of the knower, known and means of knowledge, that kind of knowledge is not there. Mananam chatra uktam drashtavyam. we should also understand that Mananam, reflection or deliberation also is included here by the Shruti. Prayasha Manapurgatvat Vijnanasya. Because normally knowledge takes place generally as preceded by deliberation, a reflection upon what it is that I want to know. Tatha nanyat vijanati. Tatha similarly, one does not know the object of knowledge separated from the knower. With a means of knowledge, one doesn't have that knowledge. Evam lakshanaha ya saha bhuma. So that is bhuma who has this characteristic. So page 332, as Anandagiri said in the line 18, Yasmin adhikarane tattva vicharayam anyanyam na pashyati. Yatra means Yasmin adhikarane. That adhikaranam, that location, that in fact bhumni tattva. Yatra adhikarane bhashyakara says, because adhikarana saptami, but earlier said yatra bhumni tattva. The bhuma which is tattvam where anyam na pashyati, one does not see something separate from oneself. Na shranoti, one does not hear something separate from oneself. Na manute, one does not reflect upon something again as different from oneself. Na vijanati, where one does not know something as separate from oneself. Sa bhuma iti drashtu drishyadi vikalpa nishedena. All vikalpa, all kalpanas, all projections of drashtu drishyadi, the seer, seen, hearer, heard, thinker, thought, knower, known. Adhyas adhikanatva upalakshitasya. All is adhyasa. The seer, seeing, means of seeing and seeing. The hearer, heard, hearing and means of hearing. All of this kalpana, all of this projection, adhyasta meaning superimposed. So, what we know is all the superimposed. What is available for our knowledge, with the means of knowledge that we have, is all this drashta, drashya, etc. And when the Upanishad says that none of these exist, where none of these exists, so meaning where all of this is negated, this is nothing but neti. This is negated means what is negated always is mithya or always adhyastam or superimposed. So what we perceive or the experience is what is superimposed. Then superimposition cannot be unless there is substratum. So superimposition points to a substratum. When we understand that a snake is a superimposition, then we know that the snake could not be unless there is something real such as a rope. So thus superimposition becomes a gateway pointing to the presence of the substratum. So by Lakshana Vritti, what you see is superimposed. What you infer by Lakshana Vritti is the Adhisthana. So Likanatva Upalakshitasya. You can say that ultimately, even this relationship of Adhisthana, Adhyastam also is not there. As Lord Krishna says, Maya tatamidam sarvam jagadavyakthamurtina. First, Lord Krishna says that this entire Jagat or creation is Maya tatam, is pervaded by me, avyakt murtina, by my unmanifest nature. So I pervade everything that is perceptible. In what way do you pervade? Do you pervade like the clay pervades the pot? He says, no, no. Masthani sarvabhutani nachaham te shavastitah. All of these are superimposed upon me. They are in me. I am not in them. They are all superimposed upon me. I am not in them. So I am real. They are mithya. I am real. Nacha matsthani bhutani. Then even that, what is superimposed also is completely negated. And what remains is nacha matsthani bhutani. Even bhutas also are not in me. Meaning that even the idea of substratum does not remain in that knowledge. Because if you say that Brahman is substratum or Bhuma is substratum, then also being substratum also is an attribute. So ultimately Bhuma is devoid of all attributes including being a substratum, because substratum is only from the standpoint of the superimposition. Where there is no superimposition, there is no substratumness, there is no witness, there is no witness. Vikalpa avishayatvam eva, therefore Bhuma cannot be the object of any kind of vikalpa, any kalpana or any kind of concept. Bhuma lakshanam upasamharati, evam lakshanam yas bhuma. So bhuma is that which has this characteristic. Now says Anandagiri in the page, we are on the page 332, line 20, uktameva lakshanam sputayitum vimrushati. Evam lakshanah sabhuma. So Bhuma is that who is of this characteristic. What is this characteristic? Uktameva lakshanam. Lakshanam is already stated. The nature of Bhuma is stated. Yatra nanyat pashyati, nanyat shrunoti, nanyat vijanati, sa Bhuma. Sudaitum, meaning where all these differences, all the drashta, drashya, darshan, etc. are not there. Uktameva lakshanam sudaitum. To clarify the lakshanam, all the characteristics, the nature, the swarupam, vimrushati, Bhasyakarana undertakes a vimarsha or deliberation as to what should be the meaning of this statement, yatra nanyat pashyati. What should it mean? This is called mimamsa. So, this view to understand it, understand the statement in the sense in which Shruti has intended to use it. Meaning, what is the meaning that the Shruti wants to convey by saying that Bhuma is that where one does not see anything other than oneself. So, Kimatraiti. Or, if you go to the other Tika, line 31, Nanyat Pashyati iti vakyasya savisheshanatvad विशिष्ट निषेधो वाक्यातः दर्शन विशेषणस्य अन्य विषयत्व मात्रस्य वा इति विमृशति. नान्यत् पश्यति. One does not see something separate from oneself. That's a vakya. इति वाक्यस्य सविशेषणत्वात्. Upanishad does not say na pashyati. Where one does not see, doesn't say na anyat pashyati. Where one does not see something separate. So that na pashyati, he does not see, is also qualified. He does not see anyat, meaning something different from oneself. You see? So adarsanam, not seeing also is qualified, does not see something separate from oneself. Anyat na pashyati. Vakya says savisheshanatva. So this vakya, where one does not see, is qualified by saying that where one does not see anyat or something separate from oneself. Vishishta nishedo vakyartah. Meaning where one does not see anything. Is it what is meant? Darshan Visheshanasya Anya Vishatva Seva iti. Or where one does not see something other than oneself. Either does that Vakya mean that where one does not see anything, or where one does not see anything other than oneself. See the difference? Iti Vimrushati. This is what Bhashyakara takes up for deliberation. Kimatra iti. So Bhashyakara says, Kimatra prasiddha anya darshan abhavaha bhumni uchyate nanyat pashyate ityadina अथ अन्यत् न पश्यति आत्मानं पश्यति इत्येतत् किमत्र? So Upanishad says, Nanyat Pashyati, one does not see something separate from himself. Prasiddha Anya Darshan Abhavaha. Prasiddha Anya Darshan. What is Prasiddha? What is all known to everybody? What we experience every day is Anya Darshanam. So in our transaction, in our day-to-day life, the darshanam, the seeing that is involved is always anya darshanam, seeing something or someone other than oneself. Meaning darshanam that we have involves the duality of the drashta, drishya, darshanam and karanam. So there is a prasiddha anya darshanam. What is prasiddham? What is well known? What is normally experienced anya darshanam? The seeing or any perception, we always perceive, we see something other than oneself. This is our life. That's what we call the transactional world. So, abhava. When the Upanishad says nanyat pashyati, it means that there is absence of this darshan, absence of seeing involving duality. Seeing that we have always involves duality between the drashta and drishya. So when Upanishad says one does not see anything other than oneself, does it mean that there is an absence of this seeing involving duality? Not absence of seeing as such, but absence of seeing involving duality. Is it what is meant by Upanishad? Or the anyat pashyati? Atha anyat na pashyati iti, that one does not see anything other than oneself, meaning one sees oneself. That can be said. Anyadna pashyati, one does not see something other than oneself, meaning one sees oneself. So Atmanam pashyati, that this wise person sees the Atma. So wise person sees that seeing is that which is devoid of any duality. Is that the whatever that is in the Shruti? Or in Bhuma, what is Bhuma? Where one sees one's own self. Is it what is meant? श्री रामगिरी लोक प्रसिद्ध दर्शनादि विषयत्व अभावमात्रम भूम्नः लक्षणम. So what is bhumna lakshanam? What is lakshanam? The characteristic or swarupa of bhuman. Lok prasiddha darshanadi vishayatva bhavamatram. Where there is absence of the normal experience or perception involving duality. Is it what is meant? Tannishedena swajneyatvam vayati, or swajneyatvam, because what is negated is anyat na pashyati. So does it mean that swam pashyati sees one's own self, atmanam pashyati? Is it what is meant? Kasmin pakshe ko labah ko adosha. All right. So what's the benefit in saying that one does not see the one's seeing does not involve duality. Where one's seeing does not involve duality, or where one sees oneself. These two pakshas are there. Kasmin pakshe ko labha, in which position, which paksha, which standpoint, what's the benefit? Ko adosha, or what is the defect? The shishya pruchati. So Anandagiri imagines this as a dialogue between Guru Shishya. You can say Puru Paksha and Siddhanta also, or Guru Shishya, alright. Going to another Tika, line 32. अन्य विषयत्व निषेधे दर्शनस्य निर्विषयत्व असंभवात् आत्मविषयत्वेन पर्यवस्यते अभिप्रेत्य आत्मानमिति उक्तम्. Somebody says when you see, you always see something. It cannot be that is seeing and there is no object of seeing. When you see, there always something. Means that when you don't see the other, you see yourself. So अन्य विषयत्व निषेधे दर्शनस्य निर्विषयत्व असंभवात्. Any darshanam, any seeing, this is Purva Paksha, involve always some object of seeing. Therefore, Atma-Ishatvena, so when you exclude what is other than oneself, it amounts to, results into saying that he sees oneself. Although Upanishad doesn't say he sees oneself. Upanishad says he does not see anything other than the self. But when you see, there is always something that you see. It cannot that you see and there is no object of seeing. Then how can you call it seeing? I see a clock, I see a book, I see something. So it is experience when we see, there is an object of seeing. Therefore, what is negated is anyat. What is negated is the other than oneself. So only thing that remains is the self. Therefore, it amounts to saying pariyavasyati. It ultimately amounts to saying, culminates into saying that one sees oneself. Iti uktam. So, how come Bhashyakara interpreted other paksha as Atmanam? Because only Anyat is negated, then Atmanam remains. So then, the Shishya says, or Pura Paksha, Visheshan Nishedevi, Vishishta Nished Siddhe, Pakshadvevi, Na Visheshayri Prachari. So, Visheshan Nishedevi, Vishishta Nisheda Pakshe, Anyat is Visheshan. When you negate Anyat, Vishishta, anything that possesses Anyat is negated also. So she says, what's the difference between the two? Still it's not clear. Between these two interpretations, what is the difference? So the next question is, in the line, third, Kincha Ataha. So what's the difference between the two? Or if you have understood the two, then what's the benefit of one and what's the disadvantage? What's the advantage in one? What's the disadvantage in the other? Please tell me. Suppose it is so, so what? Suppose the interpretation in one position is that one does not see, so one sees nothing, other than oneself, or one seeing does not involve the duality, that's what is meant. Or where one sees oneself, what's the difference between the two? Kincha ataha. Alright, so what's the difference? Siddhanagiri, Adyam Anudya Tatra Labham Darshayati. So in Bhuma, there is seeing involving no duality. That's one interpretation. That's the Adyam Anudya, reiterating that first position. Tatra Labham Darshayati, Bhashyakara shows the labha, the advantage in that interpretation. Or, going to line 34, विशिष्ट विषयत्वस्य पक्षद्वये तुल्यत्वेपि तत्फलं भिद्यते. The anyat is negated in both of them. In both the positions, that one sees in which the seeing does not involve duality, that also negates anyat. And where one sees oneself, that also negates anyat. So, Vishishta Vishayatvasya Pakshadvaya Tulya, even though Anyat is negated in both the positions, the Phalam Vidyate, the outcome is different. Yadi, so Ashakara says, Yadi Anyadarsanadi Abhavamatram Ityuchyate Tada Dvaita Samvyavahara Virakshano Bhuma Ityuktam Bhavate. यदि अन्य दर्शनादि अभाव मात्र यदि उच्यते, that in Bhuma there is abhava, absence of seeing the other, hearing the other. By other what is meant is seeing involving the duality, hearing involving duality, knowing involving duality. But there is no knowledge, not there is no seeing, not there is no hearing. But knowing, seeing, hearing is there without the duality. That's one position. So the anya darshanadi abhavamatami uchyate tada dvaita samvyavahara vilakshano bhuma. Then bhuma is something quite different from the dvaita samvyavahara. It's the vyavahara that involves dvaita or duality of seer and seeing, hear and heard. That here is seeing, hearing, knowing quite different from what we are familiar with. So familiar vyavahara of seeing, hearing, knowing, etc. So the seeing, hearing, knowing in Bhuma is something quite different from the familiar seeing, hearing, knowing involving duality. That's what the first interpretation would mean. Not absence of seeing, not this absence of the other, absence of duality. So then the Tikaka says, na tada. Why is that na tada? See, he sees a nakara which we don't see. This Tikaka seems to have a nakara, na tada. Dvaita samvyahara lakshanam bhuma iti uktam bhavati. Na tada dvaita samvyahara lakshanam na bhavati bhuma iti uktam iti anvayah. Then you say that bhuma dvaita samvyahara vilakshana. The lakshana he says, not vilakshana. So his reading is na dvaita samvyahara lakshano bhuma, or same as dvaita samvyahara vilakshana bhuma, same thing. Say now tika विशिष्ट निषेधे क्रिया कर्तु कर्म करणानां निषेधात् भूमनि द्वैत अभाव सिद्ध्यति भावः. That's all. विशिष्ट निषेधे, that there is no particular object of seeing, neither non-self nor self. Vishishta nishede, what is negated is the any object of seeing, Vishishta. Seeing is not negated, the object of seeing is negated, including other as well as oneself. Then, Kriya Kartru, Karma Karananam Nishedat, all that is negated is Kriya Kartru, Karma Karana. Nanyat Pashyati Dushyam is not there. Then, Drashta, so na Pashyati Anyat Drashta is not there. So drashta, drashya, then seeing kriya involving the duality, karanam the means of seeing, all this familiar vyavahara involving duality is not there, then dvaita abhava siddhyati. Then in bhuma, there is no dvaita, no duality. Not seeing is not there. Not knowing is not, knowing is there. But knowing involving absence of duality. Seeing, then of course seeing, hearing all culminate into one thing only. Then there is no familiar seeing, and no familiar hearing, no familiar knowing. Familiar seeing you see with your eyes. Familiar hearing you hear with your ears. Familiar knowing you know with your mind. That is not there. So exclude the eyes, exclude the seer, exclude the object of seeing, and hearing, heard, knower, knowing, no. It all amounts to simple consciousness. Amounts to self-effulgent consciousness. This is always there. But along with consciousness, the seer, seen, all of these are shining. Therefore, consciousness is always qualified by, because we mix them together. Since Viveka, the discrimination is not there, that consciousness which illumines the duality, the seer, seeing, is of one level of reality. The consciousness that illumines the seer, seeing, has one level of reality, and seer, seeing is a different level of reality, not knowing that both of them are lumped together, and both of them therefore are thought to be the same degree of reality. So then we say consciousness is qualified by drashta, drushya, darshanam, karanam, karta, karma, kriya. So what is Viveka? Recognizing that the drashta, drushya, darshanam is vikalpa, is kalpana, is image superimposition, is adhyasa. And consciousness that illumines all of them is adhisthana. One is a reality similar to that of the snake, other is a reality similar to that of rope. Here, in the place of rope is consciousness. Place of snake is the karta, karana, karma, kriya. So both do not have the same degree of reality. So that's how you negate what is superimposition, what is vikalpa, what is mithya. That's what Shruti does. And what remains is non-negatable consciousness as the very self. So Dvaita Abhava Siddhyati. In this manner, if this is the understanding that all the Shruti means is to negate the familiar Vyavahara involving duality, it has its own kind of Vyavahara. Familiar Vyavahara involving duality is negated. Now there is Shunyam, then there is no Shunyam, there is nothing there. That's not what he meant. Somebody can say this is Shunyam, etc., and somebody can say something different. Not Shunyam. Only the Prasiddha Dvaita Vyavahara, the familiar Vyavahara or interaction involving the duality of this, the Karta, Karma, Kartru, Karanam, etc. is negated here. So there is seeing not involving Karta, Karma, Kartru, Karanam. Seeing, hearing, thinking, knowing, everything you can say because ultimately consciousness is a source of seeing, thinking, hearing anyway, isn't it? Without consciousness, seeing, thinking, hearing, nothing can take place. So you can say that all seeing, hearing, knowing, it all culminates into consciousness. So they can call it Nitya Drashta, Nitya Shrota, Nitya Manta, Nitya Vijnata by adding one word Nitya, like Visheshan. So, Nayin Drashtuhu, Drashte, Viparilopo, Vidyate, Avinashitvat. When in deep sleep everything has emerged, still there is something that does not merge, and that is the consciousness. Drashte, Drashte. So, Shrutruhu, Shrute. So, Drashti, Shruti, there is consciousness. There is no Viparilopa, there is no cessation of that. Everything ceases. What is Mithya alone can cease, what is superimposed alone can cease, and what is real cannot cease. Then again, says Tika, Nakar Abhava Pathe Advaita Iti Chedaha. So Natada is not there, then तदा अद्वैत संव्यवहार लक्षणों इभूमा. Because V is not there also. Advaita samvyavahara lakshana bhuma. Then bhuma is there, which is Advaita vyavahara. Or Dvaita samvyavahara lakshana na bhavati ityartha. It is something different from the familiar vyavahara involving Dvaita or duality. द्वितीय पक्षे क्रियायाः अप्रतिषेधात् तस्याः आत्मविषयत्वे सति क्रियादि द्वैत सिद्धिः फलम्. The other person says pashyati, he sees. He sees in a real sense. That means seer and seen are involved. Here seeing also is negated. Meaning seeing involving duality is negated. There the seeing is not negated, only anyat is negated. Seeing is not negated, so seer also is not negated. So dvitiya pakshe kriyayaha apadishedat. The kriya of seeing, hearing, knowing is not negated. Tasya, that means that then the seeing must have a vishaya, hearing must have a vishaya, knowing must have a vishaya. What's the vishaya? Anyat cannot vishaya. So Atma is a vishaya. So Atma vishatve sadi kriyadi dvaita siddhi. So then interpretation is where one sees oneself, one hears oneself, one knows oneself. You say, then seeing, hearing, knowing is accepted. But seeing always involves the seer in duality. Then one becomes a seer of one's own self. So one is the subject and one is the object. That's what happens. Kriyali dvaita siddhi phalamidya athayati. So then, Bhashyakara said, atha anyat na pashyati, atmanam pashyati ityedata. Then pashyati remains. Anyat na pashyati, atmanam pashyati. But does not see anything other than oneself. But when one sees oneself, there also Vedanta doesn't accept. That's what will be clarified. So says Anandagiri, so labham anyasya prasiddhasya darshanadehe vishayatvam bhumni nasti iti एतावन्मात्रं तस्य लक्षणति उच्यते चेत् सर्वविकल्पातीतः प्रत्यगात्मा भूमयति अस्मत् पक्षसिद्धिः इत्यर्थः. अन्यस्य means what? Oh, then Bhashyakara says for that. अथ अन्यदर्शन विशेष प्रतिषेधेन आत्मानं पश्यति इत्युच्यते तदा एकस्मिन्नेव क्रियाकारकफलभेदः अभ्युपगतो भवेत्. अथ अन्यदर्शन विशेष प्रतिषेधेन. So विशेष प्रतिषेधेन. Then if no, so no, but the first one, of course, I'm going to explain. Anyasya prasiddhasya darshanadehe vishayatvam bhumnanitavan matram tasya. Then sarvikalpatita pratyegatma bhumayati. As then it amounts saying that pratyegatma is that which is devoid of all duality. Sarvikalpa. Vikalpa is duality. Drashta, dushya, darshanam is all vikalpa. Sarvikalpatita. So Atma is consciousness, seeing, hearing, knowing, without the vikalpa of the seer, seen, seeing. That's what it would be, the meaning then. And dvitiyam pakshamanudya tasmin dosham suchayati atha anyat na pashyati atmanam pashyati. Then, 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 So now, Dvitiyam Paksha Anudya Tasmin Dosham Suchayati shows the dosha in the second Paksha in the line number 4. So we already read that, isn't it? अथ अन्य दर्शन विशेष प्रतिषेधेन आत्मानं पश्यति उच्यते. All right, so read again. अथ अन्य दर्शन विशेष प्रतिषेधेन आत्मानं पश्यति इत्युच्यते. तदा एकस्मिन्नेव क्रियाकारकफलभेदः अभ्युपगतो भवेत्. Asa, on the other hand, Anya Darshana Vishesha Pratishedena, meaning the Pratisheda is only Anya Darshanam, not Darshanam altogether, Anya Darshanam, then Atmanam Pashyati Uchyate. Then one says, but one sees oneself. Then what happens? One sees oneself, so seer is also oneself, seen also is oneself. When you say there, one sees oneself, one knows oneself. Then one becomes a knower and one becomes a known. Subject object duality is there in one itself. So tada ekasmineva, then one atma alone, kriya karga phalabhedaha, because seeing is there. And seeing always involves the familiar thing involves the kriya, karaka, phala. Or you can say karma, kriya, kartru, karma, karanam. This Veda will remain. One is the karta, atma is the karma, seeing is the kriya, and whatever is the means of seeing is the karanam. So kriya karga phala vedaha abhu, then it amounts to your admitting that in Bhuma there is a duality of kriya karga phala. If you say that Bhuma means one sees oneself, then you are accepting this seer seen vyavhara. So you are accepting duality of the karta, karma, kriya. Tamev dosham prashnapurvakam sphurayati. All right. So what's that? That what is the dosha? Disadvantage involved or the defect involved in that position. Prashnapurvakam sphurayati. Bhashyakara or Guru clarifies as preceded by question. Here going to the other tika. Anyasya darshana vishayasya प्रतिषेधेन. So भाष्यकार अन्य अथ अन्य दर्शन विशेष प्रतिषेधेन. So the टीकाकार explains अन्य दर्शन विषय प्रतिषेधेन अन्यस्य दर्शन विषयस्य प्रतिषेधेन. So what is negated is darsana vishaya, anya darsana, anya is negated. Pratisheda parivasana, meaning that it amounts to negating everything other than the self. Abhivagato bhavediti तथा च परिच्छिन्नत्वेन अल्पत्वात् सुखलक्षणो न भवेत् इति भावः. Moment you say that Atma is drashta, even of his own self. Suppose you say Atma sees himself, swasamvedya, this is the Buddha, Bauddhic Paksha also. Saram kshanikam, saram dukkham dukkham, saram kshanikam kshanikam, saram shunyam shunyam, saram swasamvedyam swasamvedyam. Four great truths are there, you know. Meaning that when you say it is all shunya, then how do you know that? How do you know shunya? Kshanika, how do you know? Swasamvedyam, every moment knows itself. So that is what is really the result here, that Atma knows itself. Then Atma is knower. That knowerness does not go away, understand. Even if you accept that Atma has the capacity to know himself, then the knowerness does not go. Moment knowerness comes, limitedness comes. Because knower is not known and known is not knower. So tathacha parichinnattvena, that Atma remains parichinna or limited because still characterized by being a drashta. Alpatvat, so that remains is not limitless. Drashta is always separate from drishya, and so drishya is also limited. Drashta also is limited. So alpatvat, sukha lakshana bhuma na bhavet, then Atma cannot be bhuma, limitless of the nature of happiness. Bhuma may be limitless, but Atma cannot be. Kityapni bhava. Then Tikakara says, Atma Vyatirikta Anangikarat Na Parichedapatti. Then he says, wait a minute, we don't mean that. Yes, we accept that in Atma there is a Vyavahara of seer, seeing, okay. But Atma Vyatirikta Anangikara. We don't say that the seen is different from Atma. In one Atma alone, this seer also is Atma, seen also is Atma, and seeing also is Atma, and Karanam also is Atma. Atma Vyatirikta Anangikara. You say that Atma when Drashta is limited, provided it is separate from Drishya, but Drishya is also Atma. And Drashta also is Atma. So Atma Vyatirikta Anangikarat. You know what it means? It means there is Swagata Bheda. So Sajatiya, Vijatiya, normally our Vyavahara involves all the three Vedas. See, I am the seer, seen. Seer is the sentient, conscious. Seen is unconscious. So that's the Vijatiya Bheda. I am one seer, your other seer, Sajatiya Bheda. So this na anyat pashyati Sajatiya Vijatiya Bheda is negated. But still the scene, when he says Swagata Bheda is there. This is the Vishishta Advaita. Vishishta Advaita actually Swagata Bheda. That Ishvara, there is Bheda of whole and parts. Here are parts of Ishvara. Ishvara is one, non-dual, meaning no Sajatiya Bheda, no Vijay, there is no other Ishvara. There is no Maya separate from Ishvara. But within Ishvara, there are all this internal Bheda of all Jivas and Ishvara. So Jiva is all part, Ishvara is a whole. So that Swagata Bheda does not in fact involve duality according to them. Like the tree. So tree is Swagata Veda, that the branches are different and leaves are different. It's still one tree. So even though you accept internal duality, still the oneness remains, they say. So when Upanishad says that Atma is one and non-dual, it means Sajate Vijate Veda is not there, but Swagata Veda is there. That's why the Vedantin say, Ekam eva advityam. So Ekam eva advityam removes the three, Sajate, Swagata Vijate, etc. But Vishishta Advaita accepts the Swagata Bheda. So Atma Vyatirikta, say we accept the Bheda, but we don't accept that the Drashta, Drishya are different, they're all Atma. Na Parichedapatti, therefore Atma is not, the Drashta is not limited by Drishya because Drashta also is Atma, Drishya also is Atma. Iti chodayati yadi evamati. So, next sentence is, यदि एवं को दोष स्यात्. All right. Suppose we accept that in Atma there is actual seeing involved, but Atma sees his own self. Ko dosha syat. Then also what defect is there? What problem is there? Why not? So, that question is clarified here in this Tika, line 40. Kriyayaha karaka sadhyatvat karaka chakre vaktavye. When you accept real seeing, that Atma really sees, that's called experience. He really seeing oneself. That is experience of the Atma. Experience involves the real experiencer and experiencing. Then Kriya, experiencing becomes a Kriya or an action. Seeing becomes an action. Karaka sadhyatvat. Every action always is accomplished when there are karaka. The accessories are there. Action cannot be accomplished unless the necessary infrastructure is there. So our real seeing involves always a seer. That's the karta. Object of seeing karma. Means of seeing karma. So unless this is called karaka. So karta, karma, karanam are called karaka. So without these three, no action can be accomplished. So karaka chakra vaktavye. So what is karaka chakra? Who is the karta? Who is the karanam? What is the karanam? What is the karma? That vaktavya, that you have to specify. किम व्यतिरिक्त कारक चक्रम अंगीक्रियते. Then you ask them, when you say that the real seeing takes place where Atma sees oneself, does it mean the seer, seen, seeing are all different from each other? Or Atma eva nana akaraka rupena vartateva, or Atma alone manifests as a seer and seen and seeing? What do you mean? Vikalpa adyam dushayati. Of course, if that in the knowledge of Atma, the real duality of the knower known is there, then samsara is very much there. Because then the knower is different from known, and so it is limited. So Bhashyakara says, Nanu ayameva doshaha samsara anivrittihi. So kim dosha? Ko dosha syat. So what is the problem there? This is a problem. Samsara anivritti. Meaning one does not become free from the idea that one is a knower. You see, in that, even if the knowledge of Atma takes place, still one does not become free from the idea that I am the knower, I am a jnani, I am a knower, I am a seer. And that is samsara. Regardless of what it is that you know, as long as you know yourself as a knower, the knower is going to be, then this knower is different and that knower also is different because everybody is a knower. So that duality will not go. Then sajatiya bheda will remain. And then that is samsara. So ayam eva dosha samsara anivritti. This samsara, see Vedanta is very, what shall I say, very clear and very firm that samsara nivritti can be there only when there is no notion about oneself. It must involve limitlessness. Unqualified limitlessness alone is where moksha is there, not otherwise. Some qualification that I am such and such, that is not moksha. Because qualification always comes and goes. And qualification separates you from that which is not qualified. Or qualification separates from something else that has a similar qualification. So samsara nivritti will not take place. Siddhanagiri, sati kriyakaraka phalavede, katham samsara nivritti. All right, suppose we ask, that kriya karaka phala veda is there, so why do you say still samsara is there? So what is the relationship between the kriya karaka phala veda and samsara? Why do you say both are always together? So Vashyakara says, kriya karaka phala vedo he samsara ite. That is kriya karaka phala veda. This duality division between the kriya, karaka. Karaka means karta, karma, karanam, and kriya. So kriya, karaka, phala. Phala is the knowledge or the results. Moksha, whatever it is. Phala veda is samsara iti. So that veda will remain if you accept that here one sees oneself. You will not be free from that veda. Never, you can't be free from samsara. Okay, we'll continue. ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं